Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the truth of society. Watch this video. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, please click the little subscribe button, the bell to receive notifications when I release new videos. And if you've been with me for a while, thank you so much and welcome back. I want to dive into this topic of society. There's a couple different aspects I want to bring up today, but this comes off of a client session with a young client of mine who feels very guilty when her mom isn't feeling good. It's my fault she feels this way. It's my fault she treats me this way, right? We do that. I actually had back-to-back sessions today around the same issue, which happens a lot. We do that because as children, we cannot fathom the fact that we're actually in a situation that isn't healthy. So to have some sense of false security and false control, we make it us. They're not going to change. So for me to survive my situation, I can change. We compromise ourselves. We compromise our boundaries. This is how we're taught in society. We're taught not only to not be true to our authentic selves, we're taught to leave our authenticity to meet this ideal, to leave the way we are, take a drug and look like this. This is what we're taught so that we're constantly externally supported and codependent on everything around us rather than totally dependent on our own autonomy. Healing comes back to knowing you're whole. Healing comes back to trusting your body and knowing that it was never you that was wrong. It was a societal ideal that you were lining up with. And if you have narcissistic-ish parents, they're all about lining up with those ideals. So you, to survive them, have to let go of your true boundaries and your true authentic self and live in alignment with a set of rules and measures and laws that don't even really apply to your homeostasis. So in this one session, we were talking about boundaries, and my client said, I don't feel safe in my home. She lives with her parents. If I have boundaries. I said, tell me about that. She says, well, they don't like them. So then I get afraid of my survival. Will I be homeless? Will I be kicked out? And I said, isn't that interesting? We learn to compromise our inner boundaries, which means our secure sense of self. Think about it. Your boundaries are caution. This works for me. This doesn't work for me. You get that hit. You get that instinctual, intuitive hit. I want to go here. I don't want to go here. And think about on a daily basis how many times we're taught to go against that because of what we're taught we should do instead of what is right for us. I always say, what's right or what's right for you? It's very confusing when we're healing our emotional wounds. So the reality, you guys, is when you're in a home where your parents don't allow you to be true to your boundaries, is because if you are, you'll see that their lack of boundary. You'll see their denial of boundary. So you literally have to deny your own to survive their unhealed denial. So my client was like, I feel more safe and in love with self and confident when I'm away from the home doing my own thing. Why? Because you're able to do it your way in alignment with you. We get very insecure, internally insecure, because we're not internally secure when we give up our boundaries. When we give up our boundaries, we are basically like free-for-all. Threats are everywhere. Hypervigilance is everywhere. We have to leave our inner guidance to really look at everything and make sure everything's okay outside of us to line up with that. How easy would your life be if you were born into a family that said, trust what you feel and I'll direct you otherwise. I'll help you understand what you feel instead of please deny what you feel to line up with what I feel. Also, the reason these boundaries are broken a lot of the time because there are so many parents that think you are their extension. You accomplish things, but they don't let you feel that it's your accomplishment because that accomplishment now makes me look good as a parent because I didn't have my own self-validation. So now you're going to live to validate me, but you can't own it because then you'll have power over me. Take that in. It's so prevalent. And it's something we've just learned to accept because that's the way that it was. But we can't accept it when we're finding that we have these wounds going on and these triggers and these fears and these sabotages and all these things and these denials of self because we do to our inner child what was done to us as a child. If her parents don't let her have boundaries, she's going to go against her own boundaries to please others. Because we have to be that inner parent that gives ourselves the permission slip to look at the guilt we feel when we think we're doing something wrong, when we're actually being true to ourselves, and look where that guilt lies. I'm doing something wrong according to mom, but I'm actually not doing something wrong according to me, but I was taught that doing something according to me is what's wrong. Think about that cycle. To be true to my authentic self, which is to be true to my purpose, which is to be true to the reason I was created in the first place, I have to go against the people that make me safe, which then gets us into narcissistic toxic relationships because we'll do the same imprint. As long as I'm externally safe, don't worry about the inner stuff. I can deal with it. I've had to deal with it my whole childhood, right? So what that does is it gets us in relationships with people who seem really safe and really, really aren't. Because our idea of safety is external. Our idea of safety isn't trust, intimacy, my word, compassion, teammate. It's leave me for you so I can be safe. Think about how many of you guys have been in codependent, narcissistic type relationships. And what are you always doing? Compromising your safety and security within to feel safe and secure externally by a parental figure, which is now boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. Until we literally do all this inner work, become our own autonomous self financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually, then we don't need to give over our sense of self for another because they're not actually keeping us safe as we keep ourselves. They're not actually respecting or loving me as much as I respect and love myself. They're not letting me own my shine as much as I shine on my own. Bye-bye, toxic people. Think about that. This is how we are trained in society. If your parents were born in this emotional dark age and didn't do much inner work, this is how they are. They're training you to be like that. You've got to be the light worker who steps up and says, I'm shining light on your dark denial. I'm shining light on your patterns that keep you unempowered. That's what my young client said to me today. She goes, I feel very unempowered when I'm at home with my parents. I said, why? She's like, I can't be me. I feel guilty to be me. I feel scared and threatened to speak up because then I get in trouble and there's controversy and there's conflict and I can't handle that. I said, yeah, most highly sensitive people have an issue with conflict. Why is that? Because it reinforces that I'm wrong, I'm bad, there's something wrong with me, which is the original wound because you already feel different. So, this video is all about the training we receive because of conditioning, and we can literally stop that phase anymore. Don't do it to yourself, don't do it to your future kids or your clients or whoever it is in your life. Do the different thing. Dare to be different. Even though you were told you were different all your life and that's a bad thing, it's actually fantastic. The reason they think it's bad is because it challenges their way. Do you see? We are not celebrated in society for being unique, individual, authentic. We are celebrated in society for doing these societal measures right. It's a false sense of achievement. How many clients I have that come to me later in years and they're super successful and they're like, why don't I feel better? I go, because your external success has nothing to do with your inner work at all. The more inner work I do does not mean the more successful I'm going to be in societal ways. But you will be successful completely and in your abundance with your truth, which actually always usually does translate into success in the world, but maybe not a societally based success. Maybe you have your own thing. You're an entrepreneur, you're a coach, or a healer. That's not what society says is successful. I remember when I was getting ready to go to college and I wanted to be a holistic doctor, and I'm like, but I won't be looked at as enough in society. And one day I remember putting it aside and saying, so what? That's me following my heart. That's what I want to do. Nowadays, it's a different story. But back then, all those years ago, no. It was, you have to do what society says to feel enough. Now, I see it opposite. Now I'm like, if I'm doing the societal way, am I being true to myself? I got to check that. One of my best friends told me the other day, she's like, Candace, I'm so different. I'm like, duh, we're friends. She goes, I never got married. I never had kids. I don't own a house. She's like, but I'm really happy. I'm like, girl, you're one of the most spiritually evolved people I know. So where do we put our energy? into being true to yourself or being what people say you should be. Right? I'm done with that. Over it. Totally over it. I'm most impressed by people that have their own path, that I'm like, wow, what is that? How did you come up with that? Where did this come from? How did you figure this out? I love people who are like, I live from within. I got one of the best compliments ever, if this was you, thank you, on YouTube the other day, where someone said, your videos make me so happy. It makes me so happy to see someone living out their authentic purpose so truthfully. Yes, dudes, that's what it's all about. What is true for you regardless of them? What conditioning do you have to go against to own more of you? I want you guys to think about that. Also, if you want to join Patreon, there'll be notes on this video after the video posts. Also, my Truth Room membership is open for enrollment. My monthly membership, we meet every single Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time for an hour or so to do group healings, group coachings, basically just building our amazing community over the last 4 years. All the other offerings I have are in the description below. Please come say hi to me on Instagram, and please share this with one person that you think it could help. Adore you guys, appreciate you, and I'll see you soon.